I'm Justin Cohen. Welcome to Gurus. It's widely thought that Charles Darwin said the fittest will survive. Well, actually, he said those who are most responsive to change will survive. In fact, those who lead change will do more than survive. Those are the ones who will thrive. Michael Jackson is one of the world's most respected experts on change. He's worked with Richard Branson and Bill Gates. Nelson Mandela called him a national treasure. He's spoken in nearly 40 countries at close on 3,000 conferences. He's going to reveal what it takes to triumph over the challenge of change.
Thank you very much indeed. It's all, I believe, into the future for the balance of 2017 and beyond, about thinking better business. And that, to me, as the change guy, means we need to find new, better ways to work. How do we do that? Because it's a very flippant thing to say, and yet most of us seem to struggle with the overall concept. I think that what you brought to this conference today is your own worst enemy, the human brain. And what we need to do is upgrade our software. And that's the software that we carry inside our brain that all too often gets us stuck in repetitive, monotonous, meaningless behavior. Your brain loves words like tried, tested, routine. Those words are safe, and they encourage you through your brain not to push boundaries. Stay within the confines of what you know. Don't go beyond. And we go through a phase of learning because as apex predators, as humans, the top species on the planet, we go through an amazing phase. We have to learn, and in many times of our learning process, we are conscious. Not when we begin, because when we begin, we're in a state that the psychologists call unconscious incompetence. Let's describe this more in layman's terms, though, thinking about the way that we operate. Let's use the example of learning to drive. When you're 7 years old and somebody throws you the car keys and says, drive, well, it's not technically possible. It's a hard, complicated, learned behavior that we have to go through. And as you get a bit older and someone's brave enough to take you on a driving experience to teach you the direction of where you're going, we move up one rung, away from unconscious incompetence into what you can call conscious incompetence. I know what I don't know. And that's why you grated the gearbox or stalled the vehicle when you were learning to drive. But hey, we're humans, apex predators. So we got there, no problem. And you took the famous driving test. Nervously, I might add, and you may remember your own driving test in that process. Would I ever hear those words, congratulations, you've passed? And what the driving test is just a manifestation of reaching a state of what, again, psychologists call conscious competence. I know what I know, and therefore I can do it. And the day, in fact, the minute you passed your driving test, that immense feeling of satisfaction and gratitude that washed over you was your reward for being both conscious and competent. And what's intriguing about that is the day you passed your driving test, you became the best driver in the world. But why won't the insurance companies give you the world's best insurance deal that way? Because they know what's coming next. You were the best driver in the world, stopping at stop streets, indicating when you turned left or right, even if you drove a BMW. You did it all by the book for about 2 weeks. And then you slip into the natural human state where your brains learned it all, and you became unconsciously competent. Formula One drivers, top of their tree, conscious excellence. That's easy to understand. Very few people become Formula One drivers because 99.9% recurring of us literally give up and exist in our lives moaning about traffic in a state of unconscious competence. It's a remarkable thing. I don't believe that we need to strive to become a Formula One driver. Much more important, I believe, is that we strive to understand we need to stay a while longer in the conscious space. I know what it is I know, even though your brain may choose to shut you down in that particular regard. What I'm speaking about on conference circuits around the world is rewiring our brain. It's easy enough to do. It just seems like an enormous challenge. But when we're all thinking better business, wow, we're doing a great deal more because we're doing it consciously. Thank you very much indeed.
Michael Jackson, welcome to Gurus.
Justin, a pleasure to be with you, sir.
Aren't you talking about the fundamental way in which the brain conserves energy? Habit. the things that we do unconsciously, right?
Yes.
Which is really important, because if we were thinking about everything, we would go crazy. But you're saying we need to step out of that. What I call the holy grail of change is when you're in a habit. You're saying you actually need to step out of it and say, hold on, is this habit working for me?
Let's go backwards and take a bit of a look. Exactly that point. I mean, change in its own right is a very instant thing. Your brain is very quick to adapt if you give it the right conditions. Let's assume, for example, you're taking a bungee jump. You're standing on the edge of a perfectly acceptable bridge. The rope secured, tied, health and safety checked is wrapped around your ankles. You're there, and everyone else is shouting, 3, 2, 1, bungee! And you're looking down into the chasm going, step away from the edge. And that's just your brain refusing to be put into a changed or altered state. The minute you leap, even if it's a gentle nudge, one universal thing happens to everyone who bungee jumps. As they get pulled back up on the rope, everyone says the same sentence. Wow, I can't wait to do that again. And yet, Justin, there's something remarkably interesting with that, because you don't need to challenge your brain as dramatically as a bungee jump. Brush your teeth with your other hand the next time you do so. It's a very weird thing, because we automatically default to whatever it is that we brush our teeth with, whichever hand we choose. If you choose to use your other hand, your brain learns new habits. It starts to unlock more activity in your brain. You'll brush your teeth better. And if you do that consistently for 10 days, you'll have cleaner teeth, a brighter smile, and a whole lot more of learning and adaptive nature going into life in its own regard. It can be as simple as brushing your teeth differently.
You're asking us to step back into conscious competence. And maybe even incompetence, because if I'm going to start brushing my teeth with that hand, I'm not going to be terribly competent initially.
10 days.
10 days. And why again should I be doing this?
Because it fires up different forms of thinking and patterning within the brain. And if you want change, manifest change to make it happen. Doing the same thing over and over again is going to get you nowhere. We all know that. Better brains than I have said that. But I think that what's important about it is that if we're looking for newness, if we're looking for edge, we've got to go backwards into the realm of believing, as we once were, when we were conscious and competent, that we could do this properly. Do you remember the day you signed the contract for your job? That was a great day, like the day you passed your driving test. You were immensely impressed with yourself. Man, I got this job. They've hired me out of all those other candidates. But did you wake up feeling that way this morning? Right. So what changed?
Right.
Was it the job? Was it the people? Was it the management, the company? What changed was us. We lull ourselves into a false sense of unconscious security, and therefore don't see change for what it is going on around us.
Yeah, I find what you're saying fascinating, because I have a program on habits, and habits, as I say, are the holy grail of change. We want to get to that point where we are unconsciously competent. And what I find intriguing is you're saying we also need to get back into the conscious phase. Otherwise, we're going to start losing our competence and also losing sight of possibly better ways to do things.
I never want to drive unconsciously. For the last 10 years, I haven't had a traffic accident, thank goodness. Every time I drive, I am focused and dedicated to the principle of driving in a changing environment all around me. By remaining conscious doesn't necessarily mean I'm becoming a better driver, but it means that the chances of me getting to my destination are a great deal better.
Give us the business application.
I think what you need to do is be consciously aware that your changing circumstances around you are not necessarily repetitive. I think what you've got to do is almost step back, breathe, have a look at where you are, remind yourself who you are, what you're doing at work, what purpose are you trying to fulfill. It's not just about the paycheck at the end of every month or the new contract. It's about where you are now, and if you think about that enough, you'll realize where you can make, in a rapidly changing environment, a massively tangible difference.
You've worked with some of the greatest businesses on the planet. Can you give us an example from an organization?
Why don't I work with Richard Branson today? I learned a great deal from working with Branson. It was a great privilege. You know, when you're picked to work on strategy with Branson and his team at Virgin, man, it's superb. I was king of the hill. I felt like I passed my driving test every day for the first year or so. And then it became routine. Why did I lose the contract? Because I became complacent. Wow. And somebody now better or more awake or more conscious than me has that assignment. And what I learned, along with a lot of other things from Richard about knowing your value and what you do, is that complacency cost me that contract.
Wow. Well, firstly, thanks for sharing. The guru doesn't always sit back and say, hey, I screwed up. And I suppose that's the first step to being conscious, isn't it? Being willing to acknowledge that you screwed up.
Sure. The day my contract wasn't renewed, I blamed everything, except myself. When I took that step backwards and realized that I'd stopped performing, I was king of the hill, man. Flying upper class with Virgin, traveling the globe, jetting around with influential, well-known people, celebrities. It was superb. And I thought I fitted right in there and lived that lifestyle until I didn't realize what it actually meant and what a privilege it was. Wow. And lost it, as I say, because of my own unconscious behavior.
So when you start to believe your own press and think that actually just showing up is good enough and that you don't have to stretch yourself, that's when you lose the deal. That must have been a real turning point in your life.
Not lost many contracts since. I think that what's intriguing, though, is that, you know, at one level, I think people watching this can take something away about their own particular job. Are they as excited as they were the day they signed to work in the contract of employment that they did? And if they didn't, as I say, they must realize that what's changing around them is everything except them. And therefore, unashamedly go back to basics. Go back and uncover what you need to know about yourself.
You know, on this point, I think sometimes when we talk about change and we think about it in these grand terms, the rate of progress, if we can give people practical examples, sometimes there's a new computer system, and you're going, well, I don't want to use the new computer system. Hey, there's going to be a new computer system continually. So you better get used to dealing with a new computer system. And what you're saying is, in fact, you want to actually deliberately do things in new and different ways so that you prime yourself to embrace change.
Without a shadow of a doubt. You know, they used to say that death was certain, taxes were certain. Well, now change is certain. The future has already arrived. You know, doing more of what I did in the past is not going to get me anywhere in a world that's unfolding as rapidly as the one we're in now.
And you know, Michael, the phrase that we always get in our industry is, keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always got. Yeah. And I say, you wish you'll keep getting what you always got. The road to success is under construction. It is changing all along. So in fact, that's not the case. You did what you were doing before, and you lost the contract.
Sure. And, you know, we lie to ourselves. We lie to everybody. Your parents lied to you, like mine did. You know, when they said that exactly those things. Oh, do more of what you've always done, you'll be fine. You know, but today, the more things change, the more they change. Not they stay the same. So you need to be literally awake and aware of what's going on around you. Otherwise, it will bypass you completely.
Beautiful. Michael Jackson, thank you.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you.